I am making this statement as an act of willful defiance of military authority, because I believe that the war is being deliberately prolonged by those who have the power to end it. I am a soldier, convinced that I'm acting on behalf of soldiers. I believe that the war, upon which I entered as a war of defense and liberation, has now become a war of aggression and conquest. I'm not protesting against the conduct of the war, but against the political errors and insincerities for which the fighting men are being sacrificed. On behalf of those who are suffering now, I make this protest against the deception which is being practiced on them. Odd thing, a funny thing to want to do. Serving soldier, officer with a reputation, kill Germans, card of thanks from the Corps Commander, engraved and gilt-edged. MC, great men, important men, horseback riders, gold-braided, scarlet tabs and hatbands, soberly frock-coated, top-hatted, brave and responsible. A lifetime of responsibility and decision. Would they stop the war? Even if all that were read out in the Houses of Parliament. I am a soldier, convinced that I'm acting on behalf of soldiers. I'm not afraid of being killed. I made up my mind a long time ago to die because in the circumstances there didn't seem anything else to do. It's the dead who are my friends. A soldier acting on behalf of dead soldiers. When I'm asleep, dreaming and lulled and warm, they come. The homeless ones, the noiseless dead. When the dim charging breakers of the storm bellow and drone, the rumble overhead, out of the gloom they gather about my bed. They whisper to my heart, their thoughts are mine. Why are you here with all your watches ended? From Ypres to Frise we sought you in the line. In bitter safety I awake, unfriended. And while the dawn begins with slashing rain, I think of the battalion in the mud. When are you going out to them again? Are they not still your brothers through our blood?
Look here, old chap, isn't it possible for you to reconsider your ultimatum?
I'm afraid not, sir.
Well, I dare say that I shan't understand. I mean, I haven't had to go through what you chaps have had to go through. I don't want to ask all sorts of damnable questions, but could you tell me what's behind it all? I mean, you're not a pacifist or a contrary, are you?
No, sir.
Oh, well, God knows the war's turning into a pretty dud sort of show. Stalemate and all that, but what do you hope to achieve? Well, if you could at least explain your ideas, not for myself, you understand, but if it were necessary, and I sincerely hope that it won't be, so that one might pass it on, as it were, to others.
I'll do my best, sir. Well, sir, when the war started, it seemed pretty clear what it was about. Well, it seemed to be. Difficult to explain to the dead, and impossible to explain to the living. And I was expecting that he'd be, at the least, abusive. If only I could have taken that cigar. Peace, it would have meant. Though not the peace I'm shouting about. A small, private peace. We could have puffed away and cursed the idiots in Whitehall, and he could have reported to the colonel. The point is that, however kind and sympathetic he is, he's still my enemy.
and the more dangerous for being kind.
Surely it was the duty of our politicians to look for some other way of settling our differences, besides condemning thousands upon thousands of men to die.
Well, surely the Hun had to be punished, though.
While the Hun punishes us, sir. The war as it's being fought, sir, can achieve nothing except the slaughter of young men, of young Frenchmen, of young Germans, of young English, Austrians, Australians, Indians. There's no end to it. It's insane.
God, I'm tired. Hell, what does it matter who shoots who? What does it matter?
Does it matter? Losing your legs. For people will always be kind, and you need not show that you mind when the others come in after hunting to gobble their muffins and eggs. Does it matter? Losing your sight. There's such splendid work for the blind, and people will always be kind as you sit on the terrace remembering and turning your face to the light. Do they matter, those dreams from the pit? You can drink and forget and be glad, and people won't say that you're mad, for they'll know you fought for your country, and no one will worry a bit.
21, 22, 23. Odd number for a letter. Was it? Even number for a letter. Odd number for no letter. 24, 25, 26.
From Geoffrey? Otterlin. From the MP Lee Smith. From Lee Smith, saying he's read out my statement in Parliament, and peace has been declared.
Nothing for you, sir. There's nothing for you, sir.
The statement was made to his commanding officer by Second Lieutenant S.L. Sassoon, Military Cross, as explaining his grounds for refusing to serve further in the army. Geoffrey, when I drowse tonight, skirting lawns of sleep to chase, shifting dreams in mazy light, somewhere then I'll see your face, turning back to bid me follow.
I'll tell you what we're really fighting for. The Mesopotamian oil wells.
I'm jolly well not.
You certainly are. We all are.
You can't tell me hundreds of chaps are getting killed just because of some beastly oil well. Everyone knows. We're fighting for freedom.
My dear chap, as a soldier, you should be prepared to fight for whatever you're told is necessary. I do. I'm perfectly willing to die for an oil well. I'd just like to be told, that's all. The war didn't start because of the oil wells, did it?
Of course it didn't, Jeffries. Talking piffle, as usual.
We all thought the war was inevitable and justifiable when it started. Which is why we're so easily exploited now.
I'm not being exploited, I'll jolly well tell you that.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. We all are. Because we're willing to die for oil wells. For anything. Because the one thing that's remained a virtue is courage. Not getting cold feet. And it's exploiting our courage which is keeping the war going. Sometimes I think, Siegfried, that you're exploiting the war to keep your courage going. What do you mean by that? God, Geoffrey, you're a knowing beast sometimes.
I wouldn't take that, Siegfried. He's not called Mad Jack for nothing. He did jolly well on that raid, and he damn well deserved it.
Of course he deserved it. He treated the raid as if it was his own private property. Used to have nightmares that the CO would take it away from him. King Jack promised it to me. You had to get your military cross, didn't you? With that piece of ribbon on your tunic, you think you're safe. What do you mean, safe? It doesn't keep bullets out, you know. I mean, safe from criticism.
There's a gentleman to see you, sir, in the smoking room.
Dear Lieutenant Sassoon, I'm sorry not to have written before, but I've been waiting until I have some positive news for you. It now appears that I have a good chance of speaking in next week's debate, when I hope to raise the matter of your statement. I do hope you're keeping in good health and spirits, and that the military authorities are not treating you too harshly. Yours sincerely, Ernest Lee Smith.
A gentleman to see you, sir. Colonel Jones Williams.
Gosh, the CO?
In the smoking room, sir.
Really?
This is a very serious matter, very serious indeed. I refer to you cutting that medical board. That board, I may tell you, was specially arranged for you by higher quarters.
I'm sorry, sir, but I felt...
You realize that an RAMC colonel came all the way from London for it?
I don't want to cause you any trouble, sir, but I felt it wouldn't be consistent with the steps I've already taken if I were to attend that board.
Good God, sir! Sassoon, you must realize that you might be wrong if you set your opinion against the practically unanimous feeling of the entire British Empire. I've done all I can for you. I've told Mersey defences you missed that board through a misunderstanding, but I'm afraid the affair will soon go beyond my control. Court-martial, do you understand? Court-martial and disgrace. Try to reconsider your refusal before tomorrow. And let me know immediately if you do.
David, old chap.
Why do you lie with your legs ungainly huddled, and one arm bent across your sullen, cold, exhausted face? It hurts my heart to watch you, deep shadowed from the candle's guttering gold. And you wonder why I shake you by the shoulder. Drowsy, you mumble and sigh and turn your head. You are too young to fall asleep forever. And when you sleep, you remind me of the dead.
I chucked my MC ribbon away.
Look here, Siegfried. I've come up here to tell you you've got to drop all this anti-war business.
I can't drop it, you ass. Don't you realize I'm a man with a message? I've got all sorts of people behind me. Otterlin and Bertrand Russell, and I had a letter from Lee Smith the other day saying... I thought you'd come to see me through the court-martial as a sort of prisoner's friend.
It might be different if you could achieve something, but you can't. You're in rotten shape and you'll just end up knocking yourself out. And if you're banking on that backbench MP of yours, I might as well tell you now that I've had a word with one or two people, and you'll find he doesn't do you as much good as you think.
What people?
That doesn't matter. The point is they'll court-martial you for refusing to attend the medical board. Your statement won't come into it.
It doesn't matter what they say they're court-martialing me for. Massingham and Russell and Lee Smith will see that the real truth comes out.
They'll be taken care of, don't you worry.
You have Lloyd George's word for it, I suppose.
Good Lord, I've been doing my damnedest to try to keep you out of prison. I should think you'd be grateful.
You've got a damn cheek, Geoffrey. I might have known you'd interfere. But never mind, go ahead. And if you're exercising your usual tact, you'll get me 10 years hard labor for certain. And with any luck, they'll end up shooting me as some sort of deserter.
Why? I'll tell you why. Because we're both soldiers. And I'm doing it for soldiers, not abstract principles.
And I'll tell you what your precious soldiers will say about it. They'll say you refused the board because you didn't want to go on another tour of trenches. They'll say you've got cold feet. I can just hear that ass Barton holding forth about it now.
Well, do you think I care about that? If I back out now, I'll be betraying my convictions. Isn't that worse cowardice than being thought cold-footed by officers who refuse to think about anything except the gentlemanly traditions of the regiment?
I happen to think something of those traditions myself.
Come on, Geoffrey. You're beginning to sound more fatuous every minute. Reserve officer, temporary captain. When this is over, you'll be out of it like a flash.
Soldiers, I think you said. You're doing it for soldiers. The regiment doesn't mean just the officers, reserve, temporary, or otherwise.
I know that.
I seem to remember a conversation in which we agreed that it was our duty to do our best to protect our chaps, that the only thing we could do was to see that they were decently treated and looked after.
It's not the only thing I can do.
But you can try and make a martyr of yourself?
Why do you care whether I martyr myself for what I believe in? Why?
Because I know what's behind it.
What do you mean by that?
You know damn well what I mean.
No, I don't. Don't hint. Tell me.
You're doing it for personal reasons. That's what I mean.
Of course, my beliefs are personal, certainly.
Beliefs. Emotions. You're in love, that's what you are. You're in love with death and bloody martyrdom and crucifixion.
That's not true.
Of course it's true. What happened when young David Ormond was killed? You went out and did your damnedest to get done in too, didn't you? And now it's the same thing.
How can it be the same thing? I'm not trying to kill anyone, I'm trying to stop them being killed.
You can never muck in like the rest of us, can you? You've got to be bloody extraordinary. You can't just get on with it and keep your mouth shut. You've got to play Jesus bloody Christ all the time.
The war's wrong. It's got to be stopped. While we're talking, men are being killed. Do you think I wouldn't go through a court-martial to try and stop that?
All right. You've asked for it. I happen to know that they won't court-martial you at all.
You don't expect me to believe that, do you?
It happens to be true.
You just thought of that, haven't you? One of your brilliant improvisations.
You really think they don't know what you're up to? If you go on refusing to turn up to their board, they'll say you're shell-shocked and lock you away in a loony bin for the rest of the war.
Why didn't you tell me this before?
I didn't want to upset you. Yes, Siegfried. You can't do anything if you're locked away, can you? They're not asking to withdraw your statement or anything, not at this stage at any rate. All you've got to do is to agree to their wretched board. Then nobody can say that you've got cold feet. It'll even make your protest more effective.
If I'm back with the battalion?
Yes.
Will you swear on the Bible that what you just told me is true?
If you want me to.
I do.
Well, don't be dotty, I haven't got a Bible.
Well, say the words. Say, I swear on the Bible. Go on.
I swear on the Bible that they won't court-martial you.
Go on.
And that if you refuse to turn up to another medical board, they'll declare you insane.
That's not what you said before. You said they'd shut me up in a loony bin.
For God's sake, what do they usually do with people who are declared insane?
But if I do agree to go before the board, they won't declare me insane.
Of course not.
Or stop Lee Smith reading my statement.
How can they? He's a private member, isn't he?
Is that the truth?
Of course it is. It's all fixed, I tell you. Just agree to the board.
I'm not protesting against the conduct of the war, but against the political errors and insincerities for which the fighting men are being sacrificed. On behalf of those who are suffering now, I make this protest against the deception which is being practiced on them. And that, Mr. Speaker, the statement of a serving officer twice wounded and decorated for gallantry in the field, Second Lieutenant S.L. Sassoon, M.C., should answer my right honourable friend, who dares suggest that our fighting troops support this unholy slaughter of their fellow men.
In reply to the honourable gentleman, I would inform the House that the officer responsible for the statement just read out was examined by an Army Medical Board, and on evidence adduced both by medical experts and by a brother officer in his regiment, was found to be suffering from a nervous breakdown. He is at present in Craig Lockhart Hospital for shell-shocked officers.
Have you forgotten yet? For the world's events have rumbled on since those gag days, like traffic checked while at the crossing of city ways. And the haunted gap in your mind has filled with thoughts that flow like clouds in the lit heaven of life. And you're a man reprieved to go, taking your peaceful share of time with joy to spare. But the past is just the same, and war's a bloody game. Have you forgotten yet? Look down and swear by the slain of the war that you'll never forget. Do you remember that hour of din before the attack, and the anger, the blind compassion that seized and shook you then, as you peered at the doomed and haggard faces of your men? Do you remember the stretcher cases lurching back, with dying eyes and lolling heads? Those ashen grey masks of the lads who once were keen and kind and gay. Have you forgotten yet? Look up, and swear by the green of the spring that you'll never forget.